problem will be with the next generation because they won't have. I mean, some of them won't have those skills that we have because we know our job. We know we have our own skills, our competence. So I trust myself more than the tools to know.
Yes, another one, please.
I need to defend the young generation here. I think you're underestimating some of the skills that the younger. My kids taught me to be much more careful about these kind of things than I was naive. But and I know a lot of people in my age that are very naive. So I think it's whom you are talking to, and well, I wouldn't know how many of the young generation are falling into the trap. But there's a good generation growing up.
Just before going to the next speaker, the next question, I would like you to join me in thanking Stefano, who will need to trust the public transportation in Luxembourg in order to meet his next commitment.
I don't want to leave my airport plan. So.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Stefanos. Thank you. And be safe. Huh?
Yeah, let's hope.
Yes. Safe and trustworthy.
Please, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think the question of how much do we trust the systems that we're using, it's well, for someone like me at least, so let me not say a generalized comment here, but to me, I'm probably a skeptic in many of these things. So like has been commented already, in areas, in domains where I feel I have an expertise, yes, I think it's interesting, for example, to check up and find new sources and to use it as an assistant, if you like, some systems. But there's a curve, because the more it costs me if the system goes wrong, the more skeptical I am. So that's why I landed on 50-50, because there are some things where if it goes wrong, it's not really that important to me. But then there are others where it could cost me my life or my business license or whatever. So there is a very changing curve which rises very steeply as the cost goes up. I'd say that.
So let's lower the bar even more, below 50. Are there people who are really, really skeptical about this? We see hands, like not raised hands, but waving hands, frantically.
No, not because I wanted to reach the 30. I'm still around 50. It's hard, actually, to decide. But first of all, because of the well-known hallucinations you can get, so I have tried a lot of questions from all kinds of fields, and of course it depends on the tool you use, but there are still a lot of hallucinations. What is clear is that it's very helpful in certain fields, which are less complex, let's say marketing, right, which I'm a specialist in. It makes my life much easier. And yes, you still have to be an expert in what you do, but it just makes it more efficient. So then, and there's this aspect of reliability, not trusting, but when it comes to trust, as long as we use tools that are deployed from countries that are not subject to the AI Act, I do have my doubts. They do not respect the AI Act today, or any other, but I don't think there is any other regulation at the moment regulating AI.
Well, most of them are actually infringing also GDPR on a personal data processing level and on a structural system level. They are, most of them are not really compliant with the AI EU Act. Yes. But these are two different, it's on the personal processing data level, and the other one is more the systemic level. But, so zero, anybody zero trust? Come on, we need to be very negative so there's nobody zero trusted, that's good. So But trust is definitely an extremely important issue. Do you still have a question, or shall we move over to the buffet? Daniele, do you have a last question for us? For our audience, because they are now heated up here.
Yes, indeed. We have several questions.
One.
One. Let me pick up the best one.
Yes.
Well, I think that the best one question for our audience is something we already asked to our speakers, but I would also be very eager to listen to your opinion.
Yeah.
What is the best and potentially worst case use of AI you might think of in, like, maybe not for like the whole world, but also for your personal and everyday life? Who'd like to start?
I think we are moving towards wicked problems. I think was actually mentioned in some of the swarm ethics papers or somewhere. And these wicked problems like climate change, feeding the world, war, probably healthcare, and others, they are so intertwined. They are very complex systems. And my hope, or a certain amount of optimism and trust, is that AI will be able not to wicked problems by definition you can't solve if there's no solution, but you might push them towards a direction such that you take all the different stakeholders, you see many of the complexities. So I think the way the world is now moving in adding complexity and complexity, which goes out of our capability to look at it. My hope there is in AI to translate the complexity in actions for us.
So facing complex problems with complex models.
Yeah.
But is it not just compressed? Is it solved or compressed?
Well, I think the output of models that are maybe assembled or created by AI need to be compressed for us to grasp them. I think our brain has a certain limitation in its ability to grasp, and storage in AI is not unlimited, but pretty much much bigger. And maybe a final sort of thought on this question of trust. One book that influenced me or impressed me quite a lot is from John West, Scale. He was the president of the Santa Fe Institute, and he described complexity over complexity, and that is from villages to cities to mega cities and bigger. And then they get these huge problems, catastrophic shifts, if we as humans wouldn't come up with solutions. And every time we did come up with solutions so far, every time. But the amplitude of the problem is exploding and the frequency is exploding. So from getting rid of horses to cars, took 20, 30 years or maybe 100 from the Watts machine. Then to go over to the information age, maybe another 30. Then to what we now have, well, from ChatGPT, it's just a year or so. And so there will be a time when I think we reach a singularity, and then the explosion comes.
If I could just continue a little bit on the subject of trust and just ask one question to the panel, because it brings in also the swarm ethics and so forth that you talked about before. I'm a governance person, which means I think my world, I really resonate with what Ingrid was saying about the need to set up or governance systems that embed ethics into processes and so forth, and help control the bottom-up ethics that you need to come out. The thing about swarm is that swarms react to dangers, right? So they have the falcons in the air, and the murmuring changes shape and goes in different directions depending on the dangers that they perceive. So let's call them the falcons. Now, if we apply ethics is at the root of trust, because ethics is what helps give you predictability and helps gives you a certain sense of, I can rely on certain rules and expectations of the group, the community that I'm part of. Now, if we're working on the basis that in this increasingly quantum world where we can't predict and control things so much anymore, the swarm is reacting and going in different directions, which is going to disrupt trustworthiness in our communities and in our society and our companies. So how do we actually approach, because who are the falcons? We need to maybe, if we have AI systems like ChatGPT and so forth, who are picking up sources and sometimes are being potentially hacked to push certain agendas, who is actually going to control? We've got to be careful with our ethics not being driven in a certain direction that we don't want it to go. Who are the falcons?
Yes, Ingrid is definitely
She's our
the
fault.
Well, I welcome this comment, and I think it sets us up for a few more conferences to discuss this topic. But one of the practical approaches that I have actually even deployed to try to address this, not to solve, but at least address, is to think about applied ethics, but by design, and embedding micro ethics guardrails that can be deployed by design teams and data teams early, and then update them throughout the AI lifecycle of whatever they're doing. I think that's the only way, to your point, how to detect danger and to adjust, and not to let the swarm, which in our case would be the teams that need to deploy whatever technology, diverge in chaotic direction. So you want to adapt, but not to completely derail, right? Because then you have another problem. So in my practical experience, the way it can work well is to embed micro ethics guardrails at every single place where you have hybrid augmented intelligence. Now with multi-agentic AI, it's gonna get a little bit more complicated, and there you can have competing agentic AIs in terms of ethics priorities and ethics guardrails, and not letting the agentic AI swarm derail. So I think we'll have to be very creative, and I think the falcons are gonna also change their identity quite a lot, to use your analogy. I'm not that pessimistic, but I also think that we have to do a better job, because what we have in place currently is not serving the need. So I would challenge all of us to come up with improved solutions, and I think just swarm ethics is just one tiny one. And I welcome further conversations on how to adapt even swarm ethics further and evolve it to this new era. You mentioned quantum, so definitely for quantum simulation and quantum computation, we definitely need to upgrade our Falcon system, if you will.
I think because the time is running, and I see the sun going down in not in Miami, but here. So I think we first have to thank all of you for coming, for joining us today here. Thank you so very much for traveling to Little Luxembourg, to the Forum Da Vinci. Daniele, for moderating this fantastic roundtable. Thank you so very much. Yes, cheers, cheers. Ingrid, for your very valuable time, and for your always uplifting insights, and we really thank you very much for participating, and are looking forward to seeing you in June for your special conference. So and also the audience, thank you so very much for the ones who stayed and who prevailed till the end. Wonderful, you will get all a medal. So we saw something very important. Also our streamers So thank you very much. I don't know if they are still there. They probably have left. We don't know. But the next conferences, we will, of course, will be on May 15th. It will be with Carissa Vélis, and it's about data and privacy. So Carissa Vélis, she wrote this book here, Privacy is Power, and she will be with us next month. And in the meantime, we have a lot to digest, not an indigestion, but to digest. And we hopefully, we hope that you enjoyed it, and maybe that you will join us on May 15th, next month. And at least we will be here, or somewhere at least, and we will let you know where we are. A big thank you for the audience. Thank you so very much for being there. Ingrid, thank you very much. The speakers, thank you very much for everything. And so that was the first conference. The second one and the third one, they will follow, and there will be much more to say, and maybe more audience participation time. But unfortunately, we have to shut down the video, but there will be a little refreshment where Enza, she is a little refreshment outside, and we can chat and continue to socialize a little bit if you want to. We will all be there and happy to have a nice little happy hour with you. Thank you so very much, and once again, hopefully see you next time. Bye bye.